Welcome everybody to our Penn program, How to Have a Good or Great Parent-Teacher Conference. My name is Susan Schwartz, and I am the program director. We are a grassroots parent organization that was started in 2006 by families with young children who wanted to learn more about their local public schools. And today we connect over 2,000 with school tours and information about enrollment, and also with each other, with other parents. And we try to support families like yours so that you can engage effectively with schools, with your children's schools and teachers, and with the district. Because that's what really benefits all. I am going to, and I want to thank Jeff Albert and Collaborate Pasadena for hosting us on Zoom. I've been getting the little, your internet connection is unstable sign every Zoom, but we'll muddle through as best we can. I also want to introduce Nancy Laguna Molina, who is here from the family and community. She's going to be assisting with sort of checking the chat and helping answer questions as well as we go. So what I'm going to do is go through a not too long presentation, and then we're going to really just open it up for questions and responses. So I'm gonna, let's see if I can do this. I'm gonna do that. And can everybody see my screen? I'm gonna just do a little, like, see if I get any thumbs up here. All right. I'm gonna, and I'm just gonna say if something is going haywire and you are unable to hear or connect, or something's going wrong with my screen, please just be more at my screen and not necessarily being able to see the little Zoom squares as well. But you know, if something is just completely messy, attend to it, or just unmute and let me know that something isn't working for you. And we'll hopefully that'll. So I'm gonna go ahead. What is a parent-teacher conference? Let me get this thing out of the way. Understand why this is always. So we usually think of a parent-teacher conference as a chance to ask the teacher, how is my child doing? And that is an important question. And that is part of what parents also have information to offer about how our child is doing and what his or her strengths and weaknesses are, and raise any concerns that we have. So and I am freezing up here. So, oh, there we go. It is, it is a conversation and not all the listening. And I think, what is one of the things that is really important is this is a chance to really have that face-to-face time with your child's teacher, and for having a positive working relationship with your child's teacher. This is not the only chance you have to communicate. You can schedule a meeting with the mail or other ways of communicating. But it is sort of nice to establish that base, and that's one of the things that's nice about the parent-teacher conversations about how your child is doing. And it's also an opportunity for the teacher and the family to commit to some concrete steps that they will take to support the student, and what follow-up, if any, is needed, and that's fine. But if there is anything that that can be done, it's nice to just sort of spell that out, and this is an opportunity to have that conversation. You might want to know. Obviously, you need to know, what is my child supposed to be learning? And some teachers are going to have communicated some of that through maybe something that comes to parents to their students. You may have been to back to school night and learned some about what it is that your child is supposed to be learning. But they may tell you something about that. They may be volunteering that information as well. And then what is my child actually learning? So, how are they doing? How are they doing versus the expectation? So, you want to have an understanding that all children are different, really at any grade, are going to have different kinds of strengths and weaknesses. So that is part of what you're learning, is sort of, what is my child supposed to be learning? How are they actually doing as a learner? And this is actually sort of a not just, oh, they're good at math. Or they're really good at reading, good at paying attention. They are uh, maybe they get the right answers, but they need to learn how to show their work. I mean, they're different. You want to kind of get a little bit of a sense. And then the crucial question that is really your takeaway is, what can we do to support my child's growth and development? And by we, that means but you only have 15 minutes or 20 minutes. This is not a very long conversation. And make the most of the time, anything else that might need to be followed up afterward. So you want to keep in mind, again, as I said, it's not your only chance to communicate, but it's sort of information might be useful for the teacher to know about your child, or questions that you have, and to gather as much information beforehand for yourself about doing the same, right? They may have some things they want to make a point of discussing with you during this opportunity. So keep in mind also the need to also leave time for them to tell you things and answer those questions. So what can you do beforehand? You want to start by gathering the information you have already, and pieces of information that we have that we didn't used to, in addition to whatever sort of things you've seen come home. As I said, you may have already received some communications from your teacher, or learned something at back to school night. So all those sort of things are, I don't know, Nancy, are you able to drop the links into the chat about the parent portal information and how to use, can't really see the chat, so I'm going to just
Hi, Susan. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I dropped them in.
Thank you so much. Then, the other sorts of information we have about observed at home or on the way home to or from school. Does your child seem to be happy with the way things are going at school? Are they anxious? Do they say they're bored? Do they complete their homework? There are homework standards that the district has that sort of say, well, at each grade level, about how much time a child should be. It starts at like 10 minutes for kindergarten and adds 10 minutes, with each grade level. So as a rough approximation. So if your child is taking them an hour and there's a lot of stress over that, well, that's something to make a note of and ask about. Note to yourself to remember to mention it. The other piece is, we could, is there anything that you think your child's teacher should know about your child to better be able, and I used to work with would say, her child was getting into trouble a lot in elementary school because he just was up and around. He was an hour, and she suggested to the teacher, I find what works for me is I give him a task to do. If he could be the one to hand out the papers or do, some task that gives him, walking around so much during when he's not supposed to be. So, you're strategizing. There's a chance to strategize together, their dislikes and their talents and their challenges. So what you want to do is just sort of think about and make some notes to yourself, and of things that might be helpful for your teacher to know, or just for you to sort of be prepared to have write up things that my child really loves about school. It could be friends, it could be recess, it could be a favorite subject or an activity. What are some things that worry or upset my child about school? That could be something to do with, with the social situation, with something academic, whatever it might be. Homework time, where does that happen? Who helps? Are there any issues like, something that shouldn't take very long, taking a very long time? Or, being a child likes to do when they're not in school. What's something you love about your child just as a person? What's something once some quality? What is something you're helping your child work on? And then any significant home or health situations that may be affecting your child at school, a new baby at home, a move, an illness or death in the family, eating, if there's something that really is kind of an issue that you're aware of, it's helpful. It can be helpful for the teacher to know that. So again, the idea isn't that you're going to come kind of made that list for yourself. If it seems to be applicable, then you're kind of ready. You're ready to sort of share that information if it seems like it's relevant to the situation. So during the conference, turn this off here. What's happening? You want to find out how well is my child actually learning. How well does this match between what they know, in class he seems to have a very clear understanding, but then at home when it comes time to do the homework he's very confused, or in class, but then when it's time to take a test or a quiz she freezes up and doesn't do very well on that. So looking for those areas of inconsistency, that's a helpful question to ask. Is your child working to his or her potential? He or she may be doing just fine as far as you're concerned or the teacher is concerned, but again, what are the strengths and weaknesses as a learner? And what are the things that they need to work on? Any particular gaps in their skills? Obvious question is sort of what are you as a teacher doing to help fill in those gaps, help the child close those gaps, and what can I as a parent do to support that, or other kinds of help. And then you might also ask how your child is progressing compared with others in the class, or maybe others who are similar, like English learners compared with and again, it's not like it's a competition. and you want your of your child in context of the rest of the class. You know, and whether there's anything in particular that they you know, that they might need special. One of the things I just want to make sure, if the teacher tells you something, maybe they use an acronym or they use some phrase that they're familiar with, but you're not familiar with. If they say anything that you don't know what that means, stop and ask them. They're teachers, you know. Uh, they understand that someone is that we're saying, and we need to say it a different way, or we need to back up and explain. So don't be shy. If they use a word or they mention something that you don't understand, you give me an example so that you understand. And then what else? So, what are some obstacles? So it might be some obstacles that your child, again, you know, if there may be factors either at school or at home that are making it harder for them to be successful. Um, Anytime that we are stressed by something is decreased. So that could be sources of stress in the classroom, or it could, or at school, or it could be something that's happening outside of school. But and a lot of children, you're going to go in, and the teacher's going to say, "Oh, she's doing great. You know, she has a lot of friends. She's doing this and that." But you know, or if there are any, you want to be able to discuss those things as well. If the teacher feels like there's anything that is, you know, maybe suggests that your child is not a typical learner in some respect, and nations or be uh, uh, assessed for an individualized education plan, or just needing some to be worked with in a certain way. And then, you know, again, if there are if there are any issues, what are the strategies or resources that we can access? And here's where you're not going to necessarily be aware of other things your child needs. You know, what's the next step? When and how will we follow up? So they may give you a next step, you know, you need to call you know, and request paper or some other resources that you might access. Um, so you want to make sure you walk away knowing what your next step is. And also if the teacher is going to take any next steps, what they're going to do and when up, how are we going to follow up, and just make a plan for that. Because during the conference day, again, chances are they have a lot of conferences scheduled, and you may not be able to have a long conversation. Just make sure you're very clear about what those next steps are, and that both of you have the same understanding of what it is you're going to be doing. Um, really raised the stakes for everyone in terms of how important our social emotional well-being is to, you know, pretty much everything. Uh, and you know, there have been some additional training and mental health resources put into place. If you have any questions or concerns, you know, do ask your child's field is doing, and what the teacher is doing to support healthy social emotional development in the classroom. And again, you know, if there seems like there's an issue, then you can start to talk about what other resources are available. What resources can I as a parent access? How can we work together? And I think, you know, and at the same time, you know, be willing to acknowledge and extend grace to everyone, teachers, kids, parents, because we all, you never know what somebody else is struggling with. So what are the takeaways? Pretty much you want to kind of walk away with, maybe they'd want to, you know, have a more positive growth mindset. Maybe just want them to be happier and enjoy school more if they seem like they're not enjoying school. Maybe that's the goal. And what will you do, or what are you already doing to help with that? And what is something I can do as a parent? Are there any resources that you recommend? And then, as I said, make sure you're, is there a plan, you know, to follow up or check in if there are any issues that you've discussed, and if there are any next steps, it's always a great idea to write you what and then send that to the teacher. It's just a nice way to ensure that everybody is sort of on the same page, what, if anything, needs to happen next. And again, it may be that you get to the end of the parent-teacher conference and everything is pretty much fine, and there isn't really anything special that needs to be followed up, and that's anything up. But if there is, then you want to sort of be sure that everybody's on the same page about what needs to be done and who's going to do what and when. And that's really, I will open up, I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a moment, but we do hope that before you leave tonight, you'll give us some feedback, and Nancy can evaluation survey, so in English and in Spanish. So I will stop sharing my screen. And I think, you know, I would be fine with people just, you know, unmuting and asking a question. So why don't we do that?
May I add a couple?
May I add a couple
bullet points?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
so
please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Molina. So I work for our Family and Community Engagement Office at the district, and I support all of our community assistants at school sites. Some of you might not know who they are. Some of you might be familiar with them, but just to give you a little bit of information on the position, every school site has a role that is called a community assistant, and their primary responsibility is really to assist our families and our parents with anything that you might need. I know Susan brought up a lot of really good points regarding resources and next steps and follow-up. And so I just wanted you to know that there is this one person that can help you at your school sites should you require any additional help. So they can help you with providing additional resources or services that are either available through Pasadena Unified School District or through our community organizations around Pasadena. They can also help get you in contact with counselors, schedule any additional meetings with teachers. And this is all, of course, if you feel like you need that additional support at site level. But I really do think that position is super critical and important. I'm so sorry, my daughter keeps calling me. Go over there, I'll be right there, okay? You can't escape it. And so she kind of helped me lose my train of thought. Yep. I dropped in the chat parent portal. And so I also wanted to touch a little bit on that, because that is a platform that parents can have. And it provides a lot of really good information regarding your students at school. And so the community assistant, once again, would be that one person that can assist you with providing the verification code or just helping you download the application. So again, just wanted to kind of throw that out there so that you all know. I will also drop my information in the chat so that if you ever felt like you needed to connect with someone, I'm always available as well. And then I will also include this presentation and the recording in a platform that we call Parent University, so that if you have any other parent friends that might have not been able to join tonight but would be interested in viewing the information at a different time that works for them, they can always look through it there. But I know it's also available on the Penn website as well. So didn't mean to just go on a rant. I just wanted to
That's all right. No, it's fine.
a little bit of the role and then just how we support all of our families.
Absolutely. I know you have a list of all the community assistants. So if you have a link to that that you want to put in the chat, that would be.
I do. I will add the one that I currently have. It has not.
But I think it's probably easier just to.
It hasn't been updated. We have 3 new hires where I'm waiting for them to clear the hiring process before I can add them on the sheet. But I will still add it so that at least in case you're a parent of a school that already has someone in that role, you know who you can connect with.
Yeah. And we will also send a follow-up email, those kinds of resources and the things that we put in the chat, just to make it easier for people to follow up with that information. Any questions? And I mean, feel free to ask the question in English or Spanish or whatever your language is. And we'll figure it out and try to respond. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you will. If you can, do workshop evaluation is super short, but we really find it helpful to have the feedback from families to make it better next time. Right. Oh. You have you're missing an L in your email address. There we go. Now it's right. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I won't keep you any longer, but feel free to follow up with us at any time if something comes to you later, or if we can be helpful with anything. And thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Nancy. And thank you, Ada. And good night.
Good night, everyone.